Fala pessoal, tudo bem com vocês? E a vitória do Flamengo ontem contra o Chelsea foi tão marcante que os europeus não param de falar sobre isso, tá? Agora é o pessoal da ESPN FC olhando direitinho o que aconteceu entre Flamengo 3, Chelsea 1. Se liga aí o que eles estão comentando sobre o Mengão agora.
For parts of the first half, just completely threw in the towel in the second. Flamengo then with a 3-1 victory. Taking a look at what that means in the group. Well, Flamengo sit top of the table. Chelsea sitting in second. LAFC, of course, in action later today. Frank Leboeuf is with us. Frank, how much do we read into this game?
Well, first, congratulations to Flamengo. As you said, you know, it seems to be the South American team, especially Brazilian team, they take it seriously, in contrary to some European teams, and they give a lesson to Chelsea. Because if we're going to talk about Botafogo with Paris Saint-Germain after, where it was more, you know, sitting back and working hard, not really joga bonita game, you know, today. Flamengo, they went for it. They played a great game, and they used the weaknesses of Chelsea, which is defensively sometimes not knowing what's going on behind them, and they did the differences. On top of it, Jackson helped them out, you know, doing that stupid foul for the red card. But there is nothing much to say. Flamengo highly deserved to win that game. They were better than Chelsea. They worked harder. They were committed, and Chelsea is finished fourth in the Premier League. Yes, but we all know there are sometimes some stuff which doesn't work with Chelsea because they're still a young team, and today they lost it. They lost it mentally. They didn't have any creativity enough, in a way, and defensively they were nowhere near it.
Chelsea finished fourth in a very average Premier League, and you know that, it's very average Premier League. I mean, Liverpool had the league won by January. City were terrible, and Arsenal fell over themselves. Yeah, I mean, it's going to... Look, let me put it one way, and somebody has to tell the people that are doing commentaries in these games, right? Somebody has to get in their thick skulls. The South Americans take it seriously, and the only team that take it serious from the Europeans are Real Madrid, right? Paris Saint-Germain lost to Botafogo. Paris Saint-Germain, it's less than 3 weeks since they won the Champions League final. 5-0 against Inter. A proper match. A proper team who turned up on that day and wiped the floor with one of the best defensive teams in Europe. That's elite level football. This is kid stuff.
But having said that, looking at that Chelsea starting 11,
Yeah, but
I'm not dwelling on today. I'm just dwelling on Chelsea overall as we look ahead to the start of the new season. It's very blur. You look at that Chelsea, and if I'm a Chelsea fan, and Frank rightly says, obviously, they finished fourth in the Champions League and the FU from Enzo and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But if I'm a Chelsea fan, what am I excited about
at
the start of the season? What am I hanging my hat on that we are going to see big improvements from this side? Liam Delap?
I played with Liam's dad, Rory, and Liam Delap is a good player. And my God, he's got the heart of a lion. And he's physical. But he was at Man City, and that's where Maresco knows him from as a kid. He did great at Ipswich, but this is a huge step. And when we talk about the elite level teams in England needing to go to the next level, they're all looking for these strikers, Man United, even Liverpool, Arsenal. They're all looking for these strikers that are game changers, that are job savers. And, you know, I just don't think Liam Delap is going to be that for him. And if I'm a Chelsea fan, I have as much trepidation about next season as I had about last. There's nothing that has convinced me that it's going to be any more consistent. There's nothing that convinced me that they're going to take a step forward. Liverpool, how do you take a step forward? You go out and you make a statement and you sign one of the most creative players in world football. That's a statement. Arsenal need to make a statement, and I feel Chelsea have not, and that would be a concern for Enzo Maresco. And quite frankly, if they fell out the top 4 next year, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's it, Shaq, innit? And Chelsea fans say, look, no one expected us to finish in the top 4, and we did. It was a very mediocre league. And the thing is, we watch a lot of football, and when it's right, we've got to watch Chelsea.
Right.
And as a Chelsea supporter, surely, in your heart of hearts, you know, you don't want to be paying a season ticket to watch what they saw last
absolutely.
season.
And which is what you use in this tournament, albeit you could package it as a pre-season friendly or friendlies for so many European clubs, but you want to see a spark of what's to come. And there's not a whole lot to hang your hat on, because let's be honest, Flamengo is the better football, played all the football in this game. In Chelsea's defence, I thought Delap and Neto, nice partnership, but again, nice, nothing really
Cole
to...
Palmer looked lost on the right.
That's the thing for me. And as much as I thought that Delap and Neto looked good together as a front two, you had nothing to discuss about Cole Palmer. And then you're thinking, well, okay, there's going to be a little bit of a competition between Delap and Nicholas Jackson for that striking position. And then pre-season friendly or not, you cannot, your position's under threat. You cannot do that.
What do you do with him, Shaq?
Well, right now, I'm not sure what you can do with him. He signed, what, 9 years back in December? Or something ridiculous like that? And now you bring in Liam Delap as a challenger, you would think at this point. And Nicholas Jackson is doing his best to be in Maresca's bad books here. You know, even in a game such as this, whether you want to call it a preseason friendly or not, you do not leave. You do not leave your teammates in the lurch with that kind of a challenge, and that for me was a huge negative for Nico Jackson, and as a result, now from Maresca, you're wondering, to your point, what next, and really you've only got one answer in Delap.
To be fair to them, the first half of last season, they were really good, and then, along with Man City, the cliff just came along. And they finished in the top 4 because the Villas and the others sort of fell over themselves and came with a late run, and it was too late. He can have as bad a Club World Cup as he wants, Enzo Maresca, right? And we'll sit here and we'll talk about it. And if they go home with their tail between the legs, so be it. He will be hired and fired and judged on how they do the Premier League, the cup competitions, particularly the Premier League and the Champions League. If they completely balls the Champions League up, they'll get rid of him. They'll get rid of him, and then they'll move on to the next project, whatever the hell that is. And so he knows that. So in some sense, this is preparation for him for the season, because he can get the wrinkles out now, and there's a lot. But if he doesn't get them out properly, and if he doesn't fix it, and if he doesn't sort it, and they're languishing in the Premier League, and they're struggling and falling behind everybody else in all the elite level competitions, he's going to go the same way as the rest. And it's as pure and simple as that. This for him is all about how they perform in England and in the Champions League next year.
And this is it, Frank. And Chelsea fans can say, oh, look, ESPN FC being so negative. But you just look at their run that they had over those 2 months, where, of course, they put in excellent results. No question. Obviously, they put in those results at exactly the right time. But you look at those games, and there was hardly a time that you're like, wow. You know, Chelsea are really here. They're really gelling. They have really got something going here. It was all about, you felt, getting over the line. And it would be my main concern if I'm a Chelsea fan going into the start of next season.
Well, your main concern should be that you all know, I mean, we all know, because we've been football players, because we know football, that they are fragile, that they're not consistent, therefore you know that you don't know where you're going to go. That's the trick. You don't know where you're going to stand. One game is going to be perfect, and the 3 days after they're going to get something horrendous. So you don't know where you go, you don't know where you stand, and you know that because they showed it during some seasons ago, and last season also. As we said, they finished 4th because the league wasn't good last season. And I think if you want too much from, or you expect too much from Chelsea, you're a fool. You're really a fool, because you know everything is settled on something very fragile. They don't have, again, as I always demanded, an experienced players or 2 or 3 experienced players where you can put the basics on. You are betting on young players who can do great things but suddenly lose it. That's what it is. And as long as you are working that way, it's going to last that way. So it's hard to say, oh, next season is going to be different. No, it's not going to be different unless they buy those players that I want deeply and praying for. But it's not going to happen. It's not the way of thinking the football.
And you know, they're waiting for him now, aren't they? Maresca. After you mentioned it, after the sort of expletives.
The FU, yeah.
You know, who was it? He's giving it a FU.
Yeah.
The lot of you. You know, you said we couldn't do it. No, nobody said that. You said we were too young. You said FU was, and you know what? You know what the tabloids are like. You know what the journalists are like, and I'm not criticising them. And rightly so. They will wait, and they will be fair, but they will remember. And if it goes wrong, and it might not, might be okay, might be great. But if it goes wrong, they will remember the sort of stance that he took, and they will come down on him even harder. And when they come down on him harder, then the supporters take more note, and he becomes under more pressure. So sometimes you reap what you sow, and I didn't think that was very clever from him at the end of last year, and I think it's put a little bit more pressure on him at the start of this season.
Just a word on Nico Jackson. What do you do with him?
I've always said, and maybe this will be for Liam Delap as well, in the sense that if Chelsea want to get to the next level and back to the levels where they have been, in all fairness to them, with some serious money being spent, particularly with Roman Abramovich, is Nico Jackson is nothing more, apart from the odd period we've seen last year at the start of the season, nothing more than a squad player. You're not going to win the league.
And you've got a squad player who seems unhappy.
And who didn't finish the season particularly well. After starting the season very well, I think he's okay to come off the bench. I think he's okay to play in cup competitions, but he's not going to take you to the level where the Chelsea hierarchy want to get. That's going to take a front man who's costing a lot of money and who's got a proven track record. And I don't see any of them out there that are going to go to Chelsea.
Então, pessoal, vocês viram aí o pessoal falando sobre o jogo do Flamengo, 3-1 contra o Chelsea. O que me chama muita atenção é que sempre tentam desvalorizar o jogo dos times brasileiros, né? A vitória. Como o Chelsea tivesse, não, perdeu, mas tá tranquilo. Perdeu porque o Chelsea tem uma defesa porcaria. Perdeu porque o Chelsea é isso. Perdeu porque o Chelsea, mas não... Os caras não falam assim, perdeu porque o Flamengo foi melhor. Tem um time, né, na teoria até que melhor. Porque pelo futebol que jogou ontem, o Flamengo aparentemente ganharia do Chelsea em qualquer lugar do mundo. Então, assim, é difícil deles admitirem a superioridade de times brasileiros ou times sul-americanos contra europeus, tá? Já vi muitos deles falarem que, assim, eles estão jogando mais pela grana, mas que ninguém quer jogar esse campeonato e tal. É porque, assim, gente, na cabeça deles, eles só podem jogar contra eles e eles se acham os donos do mundo. É isso. Gente, futebol europeu só tá na crista da onda porque investe muita grana. Se o dinheiro estivesse do nosso lado, o futebol brasileiro seria o maior futebol do mundo em um campeonato igual o Brasileirão, tá? Mas o Flamengo foi muito bem, meteu 3-1 e nos outros dados do jogo, o Flamengo foi bem melhor que o Chelsea, tá? Isso demonstra a superioridade do Flamengo ontem contra o Chelsea, tá bom? Galera, peço para vocês deixarem um like, se inscrever no nosso canal. Peço também que você compartilhe esse vídeo com seus amigos. Muito obrigado por tudo. Fica com Deus. Valeu!